Yeah. And I do suspect it, when this is partly just based on my having talked to lots of men about pornography and their porn use, I suspect that a lot of men who still use porn and don't want to stop using porn or don't want to consider their porn use as a problem in any way will say, well, I'm not addicted. Like I just use porn casually. Like it's not, like, so I don't have a negative relationship with it. Like I just watch it sometimes. Like I think so many men really just consider porn to be a masturbation tool and therefore not harmful because of course masturbation isn't harmful. And people have, you know, glommed those things together. And so often when you're speaking critically about pornography, they're like, oh, well, so I shouldn't masturbate. I'm like, no, that's definitely not what I'm saying. But like, I do think that pornography is harmful in a wide variety of different ways. But like, what would you say to a man who says, I'm not addicted though, so what's the problem?
So what would I say to that person? First of all, I just want to say that like we at Fight the New Drug, we don't talk to masturbation. We don't have a stance on that. We are an educational organization that talks about the harmful effects of pornography using science, facts, and personal accounts. But to your question, like, what would I say to that person? One of my favorite phrases was something that my mom drilled into my head as a kid, and the thought is that a man convinced against their will is of the same opinion still. And so if a person is convinced that their level of porn consumption is okay, no matter what I say, if they're convinced, they're going to maintain that position no matter what I say. And so I think the first thing I would want to say is that it would be very important to understand where that person's at currently. If they don't want to change and there's no interest in considering before consuming, then I don't have any interest in having a conversation about the potential harmful effects of pornography. Because there's no reason to have that conversation if there is no open-mindedness. So, but then like if the person is willing and there is a level of unwanted porn consumption and they're considering before consuming and they're saying, hey, genuinely speaking, like I want to be healthy, but I think my porn consumption is healthy, then I think that's a different conversation. And what I would say to that is like, why do you consume porn?
Yeah.
What's your reasoning? Get into why they consume it. If they were a person who, like, as a man, like I enjoy my masculinity and I think masculinity can be healthy. I think masculinity is amoral. Like it depends on what I do with my masculinity and what we do collectively with our masculinity, if makes it like healthy or unhealthy. Mm-hmm. But when it comes to masculinity, I think that one thing that's confused is that some of these traits that are like normally looked at as like traditionally viewed as masculine within Western society, I think sometimes they're confused. So maybe I would challenge this person that I was talking to hypothetically. I would say something like, one of the things that is viewed as masculine in Western society is being independent. But I think that word independent is misunderstood because I think a lot of people see it as not needing help.
Yeah.
But the reality is, the way I look at it is that independence means, it's free from outside control. Or another way to state that, the reason why I bring this up is because a person like a man might say that they are independent, but then they might have a dependency to pornography. And So that's where I would maybe challenge that person. Like, do you feel like you have a dependency to pornography? And whether that dependency is in impulsive, or I guess I want to restate that, whether that dependency is based out of impulsivity or based out of compulsivity, it's still a certain level of dependency. And I think that would be an important conversation to have. I don't know. What are your thoughts? How do you have this conversation with someone that doesn't want to, or that thinks their porn consumption is completely healthy?
Well, it's really hard because I think that people who claim that their porn use isn't a problem and it's totally fine are in a bit of denial. And so they have a block up already to hearing. And so, often I'll be like, most like women in the porn industry don't want to be there. They're not enjoying themselves. They're like, not, I know this might come off as judgmental, but I also know this to be true based on, listening and learning. Well, most people in the porn industry are not very like mentally healthy people. There's a lot of addiction, there's a lot of mental health issue, there's a lot of past trauma. Like a lot of those women came from situations where they'd been molested repeatedly throughout their lives, and this sort of led them into the sex industry. And you don't know what's going on with these people that you're watching on the screen.
Yeah.
Because men will, defend their porn use by being like, oh, well, I'm not, like, I'm not watching mainstream porn. I'm watching like amateur porn. Because, they want to believe that what they're doing isn't exploitative. Like if you're watching porn that like a male owned corporation, like they're making billions off of this, and this woman in the porn is being kind of chewed up and spat out and not making very much money, and now her videos are online for eternity and somebody else is profiting from her, not her, and she has no control over those images.
Yeah.
But like I kind of don't believe that, to be honest, because I don't think that most men are really just watching like ethical amateur pornography, because that's not really what most porn is out there. And even if that's what you believe you're watching, you still don't know anything about this person that you're
Right.
watching, and you don't know what's going on in their life. So I will say that, but I also I think it has negative impacts on the way that these men look at women out in the world, in the way that they have sex, and like their ability to be in intimate relationships with other women. And I know that porn use is really hurtful to women. Like a lot of women who are in relationships with men feel really upset or disturbed or hurt by their partner's porn use. And a lot of women see it as a form of cheating. And I didn't used to see it that way, but I kind of agree with that now, because I do consider it like you are in a way engaging in sex acts with other people outside your relationship. I don't know what you think about that.
I mean, I guess we can just like simplify the term cheating. And if we simplify it to, doing something behind someone's back without
Right.
them knowing,
Right.
then I would say that if a person is engaging with pornography, consuming pornography without their significant other knowing, then I would say that's a form of cheating, because there's dishonesty within the relationship, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think that maybe that's oversimplified, and I do want to say that context matters, and so every relationship is different, and I just don't know of personally. I don't know of someone where their porn consumption is completely they're in a healthy relationship, and it's a long-term relationship, and they have been completely transparent about their current porn consumption. Like
Yeah.
I would say that in my personal account, within my circles, porn consumption often happens in isolation and in secrecy. And so to answer your question, like, I know that context matters, and I'm not saying that, I guess, yeah, I'm just saying context matters. I would say that porn consumption in most cases I would label it as cheating.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think you're probably right, because I think that, you know, men who use porn and their partners sort of like are aware that they use porn. It's not like their partners know what it is they're consuming or how often they're consuming
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. And I think that's one thing that I've seen being pushed in a lot of ways is trying to normalize your partner's porn consumption. It seems like that's trying to be normalized. And I think that also there's organizations out there and entities out there that are trying to normalize more and more that women should consume pornography and be okay that their partner consumes pornography. And I don't like that normalization. And so that's why I'm grateful that we have conversations like these ones where we're kind of fighting back against that normalization. One thing
Yeah.
that I'm kind of pivoting here, unless you wanted to comment.
Well, I mean, I was just gonna say, like, I mean, I agree with you. I think there is a lot of pressure on women to normalize and accept their partner's porn use, and I think that, and yeah, for them to use porn also, you know, like maybe you should use porn with your partner. Then, like, you don't like him doing this behind your back, maybe you should use porn too. And I think it's all kind of forced, because it's like trying to force yourself to be okay with something that makes you uncomfortable or upset or is disturbing to you. And I think a lot of women, frankly, just do that because they feel they have no other choice. Because they're like,
Yeah.
well, all men use porn, or like my partner uses porn. There's nothing I can do about it. I can't stop him. So I just need to find a way to be okay with this, which I think is sad.
Yeah.
But I also I don't know what I would say to those women. You know, like I've been in that situation before for sure. And it's tough, because it's like, okay, well, am I supposed to leave my partner? Am I supposed to keep having conversations about this? You know, like all these men that I know in my life are using porn, and like maybe their partners are okay with it. So like what am I supposed to do except to try to be okay? And I've never been okay with it. I've always pushed back. I've never been like,
Yeah.
sure, that's fine. I'm like, no, it's not fine.
Right.
But you know, I know where these women are coming from, and I know what they feel like they're up against.
Yeah.